Captain Alex Morrison stared at the blinking red light on his communication panel and rubbed his tired eyes. 3 months into their deep space mission, the exploration ship Pathfinder had found nothing but empty space and dead rocks. The crew was getting restless, and Alex was starting to wonder if this expedition was just another waste of time and money. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Katie Brooks from her engineering station, "we're getting a weird signal on the old quantum frequencies. It's not coming from Earth." Alex walked over to her console, his boots making soft clicking sounds on the metal floor. The signal pattern looked strange, almost like it was trying to follow some kind of protocol he had never seen before. "Can you clean it up?" he asked. Katie's fingers moved quickly over her keyboard. "Give me a minute. This is really old technology, but I think I can make it work." The bridge fell silent except for the quiet humming of the ship's engines. Commander Ryan Cole looked up from his security station with interest. Dr. Lisa Hayes stopped reading her research files and turned toward them after a few minutes. Katie nodded. "Got it. But Captain, you're not going to believe this." The speakers crackled to life, and a deep voice began speaking in perfect English. "Greetings, Captain Alexander Morrison of the vessel Pathfinder. By the ancient laws of succession and the mandate of continuity, you have been chosen as the rightful heir to the Zilani Dominion. Your empire awaits your command." The bridge went completely quiet. Alex felt his heart skip a beat. "What did you just say?" the voice continued. "The Zilani Dominion has ruled 17 star systems for 2,000 years. Our species faces extinction, and according to our sacred laws, the empire must pass to the most worthy successor civilization. Our analysis has determined that humanity meets all requirements for imperial succession." Ryan stood up from his chair. "This has to be some kind of joke." "I assure you, Commander Cole, this is no jest," the voice replied, somehow knowing his name. "I am Chancellor Victor Azinos, the last leader of the Zilani people. Please proceed to the coordinates I am transmitting to your navigation system." "Time is running short." Alex looked at his crew. Katie was staring at her screen with wide eyes. Lisa had her mouth open in shock. Ryan had his hand on his weapon, as if that would help against voices from space. "Sir," Katie said quietly, "the coordinates are real. There's something big orbiting a star about 6 hours away from here." Alex felt like the universe had just turned upside down. "How big?" "Really big. Like bigger than anything we've ever built. Maybe the size of a small moon." Dr. Hayes finally found her voice. "Captain, this could be the discovery of the century. If there really is an alien civilization out there, we have to investigate." Alex thought about it for a long moment. They were months away from Earth, with no way to ask for orders. The mission parameters gave him authority to investigate any signs of alien life. And if this was real, it would change everything for humanity. "Set course for those coordinates," he decided. "But keep our weapons ready and stay alert." The next 6 hours felt like the longest of Alex's life. The crew tried to act normal, but everyone kept glancing at the main screen, waiting to see what they would find. When they finally arrived at the coordinates, what they saw took their breath away. A massive structure floated in space, dark metal gleaming in the light of a dying red star. It was shaped like a giant ring, with towers and docking bays covering its surface. Ships moved slowly around it, but they looked different from anything humans had ever built. "My God," Lisa whispered, "it's beautiful." "And old," Katie added, reading her sensors. "Some of these materials are unlike anything in our databases." A new voice came over the communication system, this one sounding tired and weak. "Captain Morrison, please dock at Bay 7. I will meet you there." Alex looked at his crew one more time. "Are we really doing this?" "We've come this far," Ryan said, checking his sidearm. "Might as well see what happens." The docking process was surprisingly smooth. The alien station system seemed to understand their ship perfectly, guiding them into a bay that was exactly the right size. As soon as they landed, the bay filled with breathable air. "Well, that's convenient," Katie muttered. They put on their spacesuits anyway and walked out of their ship. The docking bay was enormous, with ceilings that disappeared into darkness above them. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing with soft blue light. A tall figure approached them from the far end of the bay. At first glance, it looked almost human, but as it got closer, Alex could see the differences. The being was thin and pale, with large eyes and long fingers. It wore robes that seemed to be made of some kind of metal fabric. "Welcome, Captain Morrison," the figure said in that same tired voice they had heard over the radio. "I am Chancellor Azenos. I apologize for the circumstances of our meeting." Alex stepped forward, trying to project confidence he didn't feel. "Chancellor, your message mentioned something about an empire?" Azenos nodded slowly. "Follow me, please. There's much to explain and little time to do it." They walked through corridors filled with strange artwork and floating displays that showed star maps and incomprehensible data. Other aliens moved through the halls, but they all looked sick and tired. Many of them stopped to stare at the humans with what seemed like curiosity mixed with hope. Finally, they arrived at a huge room with windows that looked out at the stars. In the center was a raised platform with what appeared to be a throne made of crystal and metal. "This is the heart of Empire," Azenos explained. "From here, the Zilani have ruled our domain for over 2 millennia, and now it falls to you." Lisa stepped forward. "I don't understand." "Why us? Humanity has barely reached beyond our own solar system," Azenos smiled sadly. "That is precisely why. The Zilani are dying, Dr. Hayes. A plague has ravaged our people for 3 centuries. Our birth rate has fallen to almost nothing. Within 50 years, we will be extinct." He gestured to a wall covered with screens showing different worlds. "Our empire contains billions of subjects from dozens of species. Without leadership, they will fall into chaos and war. The mandate of continuity requires us to choose a successor before we die." "But why humans?" Alex asked. "Your species showed remarkable qualities during your early space exploration," Azenos replied. "Courage, adaptability, and something our computers identified as constructive unpredictability, where other species might maintain our rigid systems. Humanity might find new solutions to old problems." Ryan crossed his arms. "And if we refuse?" Azenos looked even sadder. "Then billions will suffer as our empire collapses. Trade routes will fail, old enemies will start new wars. Entire civilizations that depend on imperial protection will be destroyed." The weight of what he was saying hit Alex like a physical blow. "You're asking us to take responsibility for billions of lives we've never met." "I am," Azenos admitted. "But I am also offering you the knowledge and resources of a 2,000-year-old civilization. Technologies that could transform your world. It lies among the stars. And the chance to build something greater than any single species could create alone." Alex looked at his crew. Katie looked excited and terrified at the same time. Lisa was practically vibrating with scientific curiosity. Ryan looked worried but determined. "What exactly would this involve?" Alex asked. Azenos walked to the crystal throne and placed his hand on it. The room filled with holographic displays showing star charts, resource reports, and what looked like legal documents. "The Imperial Codex contains everything you need to know," he explained. "Laws, customs, trade agreements, military protocols. But Captain, you must decide quickly. I am dying, and the succession ritual must be completed before my death, or the Empire will fall into legal chaos." Alex felt the weight of history pressing down on him. One decision would change not just his life, but the future of humanity and billions of other beings across the galaxy. He took a deep breath and stepped toward the throne. Alex placed his hand on the crystal throne and felt a strange, tingling sensation run through his fingers. The throne began to glow with soft blue light, and suddenly his mind was filled with information he had never learned. Star maps, trade routes, alien languages, and thousands of years of history flowed into his consciousness like water filling a cup. Chancellor Azenos smiled weakly. "It is done. You are now the Emperor of the Zilani Dominion, Captain Morrison. May you prove worthy of the trust we place in you." The old alien collapsed and Dr. Hayes rushed to help him. But Alex could see in the Chancellor's eyes that it was too late. A Xenos had used the last of his strength to complete the ritual. "What have I done?" Alex whispered, staring at his hand. He could feel the weight of an entire empire pressing down on his mind. Katie put her hand on his shoulder. "You did what you thought was right, Captain. We'll figure this out together." Over the next few hours, they learned just how complicated their new situation really was. The Imperial Codex was like a library the size of a planet containing information. About 17 star systems, dozens of alien species, and trade agreements that were older than human civilization. "Look at this," Lisa said, pointing to one of the floating displays. "The Corvani cluster produces something called quantum crystals that power most of the Empire's technology. But their trade contract expires in 6 months?" Ryan was studying military reports. "And according to this, they have one of the largest fleets in the Empire. If they decide they don't like humans running things, we could have a war on our hands." Alex rubbed his temples. The throne had given him knowledge, but it felt like trying to drink from a fire hose. He understood the basics of imperial law and administration, but actually running an empire was something else entirely. "Sir," Katie said from her position at a Zelani computer terminal, "we're getting messages from all over the Empire. Word is spreading fast that the succession has happened." Alex looked at the stream of incoming communications. Most were in languages he couldn't read, but the translation systems were working overtime. Some messages seemed curious, others worried, and a few sounded angry. "Put me through to the fleet commanders," Alex decided. "If we're going to do this, we need to establish authority quickly." The next few hours were a blur of holographic conferences with alien leaders from across the Empire. Some, like Admiral Keth of the Vorthan Navy, seemed genuinely interested in working with humans. Others, like Trade Prince Morgul of the Corvani cluster, made it clear they thought humans were primitive newcomers who had no business ruling anything. "You expect us to bow to a species that has not even left their home system?" Morgul demanded, his insect-like features twisted with disgust. "The Corvani have traded across the galaxy for 1,000 years. We will not be ruled by children." Alex tried to stay calm, drawing on every diplomatic lesson he had ever learned. "Trade Prince Morgul, I understand your concerns. But the succession was completed according to ancient law. I'm hoping we can work together for the good of all Imperial citizens." Morgul's laugh sounded like grinding metal. "Ancient law written by the Zelani, not by us. Perhaps it is time for the Corvani to reconsider our place in this empire." The communication ended abruptly, leaving Alex staring at an empty hologram projector. "Well, that could have gone better," Ryan said dryly. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the news of humanity's galactic inheritance was causing chaos of its own. President Helen Carter was dealing with emergency sessions of Congress, while world leaders demanded explanations for something that seemed impossible. "You're telling me that one ship captain has somehow become the ruler of alien civilizations?" shouted Senator Paul Rogers during a heated video conference. "This is madness. We need to send a fleet out there immediately to secure our interests." President Carter tried to maintain order. "Senator, we don't even know what we're dealing with yet. Captain Morrison and his crew are doing their best in an impossible situation. Their best isn't good enough." Rogers slammed his fist on the table. "If there's an empire out there with advanced technology, America needs to control it, not some random explorer." Ambassador Maria Santos spoke up from her seat at the UN. "With respect, Senator, this affects all of humanity, not just America. We need to approach this carefully and work together." Back on the space station, Alex was discovering that running an empire involved a lot more paperwork than he had expected. Trade disputes, territorial claims, resource allocation reports, and diplomatic protests flooded in faster than he could read them. "Captain," Katie called out, "I think I found something important. The Empire's economy is based on something called exotic matter. It's used in faster-than-light travel, energy production, and a dozen other technologies we don't understand yet." Alex looked at the economic reports she was showing him. And let me guess, it's complicated. The mining operations are controlled by a consortium of different species, but the refining is done mostly in Corvani space. If they pull out of the Empire, the whole economic system could collapse. Dr. Hayes had been studying the Zilani medical data. Alex, I think I know why the Chancellor was so desperate. This plague that's killing them isn't natural. Someone engineered. It's specifically to target Zilani genetics. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. You're saying someone deliberately destroyed their civilization? That's exactly what I'm saying. And if they were willing to commit genocide once, they might do it again. Before Alex could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Ryan ran to the nearest security console and his face went pale. Captain, we have a problem. The Corvani are mobilizing their fleet, and they're not alone. 3 other species are joining them. Alex looked at the tactical display showing dozens of ships moving toward the Imperial core worlds. How long do we have? At their current speed, maybe 2 days before they reach the capital system? Alex sat down heavily in the crystal throne, feeling the weight of impossible decisions. In less than 24 hours, he had gone from a simple ship captain to the ruler of a dying empire that was already falling apart. Options? He asked as crew. Katie was working frantically at her console. The Imperial fleet is powerful, but it's scattered across 17 systems. We can't recall them fast enough to defend the capital. Ryan was studying military protocols from the Imperial Codex. We could try to negotiate, but Trade Prince Morgul didn't seem interested in talking. Lisa looked up from her medical research. Or we could try something the Zilani never did. Something unpredictable. Alex raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? The Zilani ruled through hierarchy and tradition. They followed the same patterns for 2,000 years. But humans don't think like that. We adapt, we improvise, we find new solutions to old problems. Alex thought about it. The throne was feeding him information about standard Imperial responses to rebellion, all of which involved either military force or complex diplomatic negotiations. But maybe Lisa was right. Maybe it was time to try something different. Katie, can you patch me through to every ship in the rebel fleet? As that's highly irregular, sir. Imperial protocol says you should only communicate with the fleet commanders. Alex smiled for the first time since taking the throne. Then let's break. Some rules? Within an hour, Alex was speaking directly to thousands of individual crew members across the rebel fleet. He didn't threaten them or quote ancient laws. Instead, he simply told them the truth about the plague that had killed the Zilani, about the unknown enemy that might still be out there, and about his hope that all the species of the Empire could work together to build something better. I know you don't know me, Alex said, looking directly into the camera. I know humans seem primitive compared to your civilizations, but we all want the same things. Safety for our families, prosperity for our worlds, and peace among the stars. The Zilani chose us not because we're perfect, but because we're different. Maybe different is exactly what this empire needs. The response was immediate and unexpected. Ships began dropping out of the rebel fleet one by one as crews decided to give the new human leadership a chance. By the end of the day, only Morgul's core Corvani vessels remained in rebellion. Well, Ryan said, watching the tactical display, that's either the smartest thing you've ever done, or we're about to start the shortest empire in galactic history. Alex stood up from the throne, feeling slightly more confident. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. 6 months had passed since Alex Morrison became the unlikely ruler of the Zilani Empire, and the changes were already remarkable. The massive space station that served as the imperial capital was busier than it had been in decades, with ships from across the galaxy bringing news, trade goods, and new ideas. Alex walked through the corridors that had once seemed cold and empty, now filled with beings from dozens of different species working together. Human engineers worked alongside Zilani technicians, while Vorthan traders shared meals with Earth diplomats in the station's expanded cafeterias. Captain, Katie Brooks called out as she approached him. She wasn't just a ship's engineer anymore, but the director of Imperial technology, responsible for combining human innovation with alien science. You need to see what we've accomplished in Lab 7. Alex followed her to a section of the station that had been converted into research facilities. Inside, he saw something that would have been impossible just months before: a human woman and a Zelani. Scientists working together to repair a damaged quantum drive using tools that combined both technologies. We've figured out how to make Zelani quantum systems more efficient using human computer programming, Katie explained excitedly. And they've shown us materials science that we never could have imagined. Together, we're creating things neither species could build alone. Dr. Lisa Hayes joined them, carrying a tablet full of medical data. Alex, I've made another breakthrough with the Zelani plague research. The genetic markers are definitely artificial, and I think I know who created them. Alex felt his stomach tighten. Who? The DNA signature matches samples we found in the Empire's historical databases. There's a species called the Harbingers that disappeared from the galaxy about 500 years ago. According to the records, they were obsessed with creating perfect order in the universe. Katie frowned. Disappeared? Or went into hiding? That's what worries me, Lisa replied. All the evidence suggests they've been working in secret, slowly weakening the Zelani Empire from within. Before Alex could respond, Commander Ryan Cole's voice came over the communication system. Captain, we have a situation at Nexus Prime. The Scari Raiders are attacking the mining colony, and the local defense fleet is requesting immediate assistance. Alex hurried to the command center, where holographic displays showed the battle unfolding in real time. Nexus Prime was one of the Empire's most important exotic matter mining worlds, and losing it would be a serious blow to the Imperial economy. How? Long until our nearest fleet can reach them? Alex asked. Ryan checked the tactical displays. Admiral Keth's ships are 6 hours away. The colony won't last that long. Alex studied the situation. The traditional Zelani response would be to send whatever ships were available and hope for the best. But Alex had been learning that human thinking often found solutions that others missed. What about the mining ships themselves? Alex asked. Do they have any defensive capabilities? Mining ships? Ryan looked confused. Sir, those are civilian vessels. They're not designed for combat. Alex smiled. But they are designed to move massive amounts of rock and extract materials from hostile environments. Katie, could we modify their mining lasers for combat use? Katie's eyes lit up with understanding. The quantum cutters they use could definitely damage raider ships, and the ore haulers are built to be tough. It might actually work. Within an hour, they had sent technical modifications to the mining fleet at Nexus Prime, when the Scari Raiders expected to face defenseless civilian ships. They instead encountered an improvised defense force of armed mining vessels using tactics the Raiders had never seen before. The mining ships used their knowledge of the local asteroid fields to set ambushes, while their modified equipment proved surprisingly effective against Raider technology. The battle was won before Admiral Keth's fleet even arrived. Incredible, Admiral Keth reported over the communication link. In 30 years of military service, I have never seen mining ships used as warships. The Raiders were completely unprepared for such tactics. Alex felt a surge of pride, not just in the victory, but in what it represented. This was exactly the kind of thinking that made humans valuable to the Empire. Back on Earth, the changes were just as dramatic. President Helen Carter was dealing with the most rapid technological advancement in human history as Katie's team shared Zelani innovations with Earth's scientists. Madam President, Secretary of Defense Paul Rogers said during their daily briefing, our new orbital shipyards are producing vessels at a rate we never thought possible. The fusion of human manufacturing techniques with alien materials science is revolutionary. President Carter nodded, but she looked worried. And the social changes? How are people adapting? Ambassador Maria Santos answered from her position at the United Nations. It's mixed. The young people are embracing the new technologies enthusiastically, but many older citizens feel overwhelmed by how fast everything is changing. Some communities are struggling to adapt. We need to be careful, President Carter said. Technology. Without wisdom can be dangerous. We need to make sure we don't lose what makes us human while we're becoming citizens of the galaxy. Back on the Imperial Station, Alex was facing his own challenges with rapid change. The arrival of human administrators and diplomats had created new opportunities, but also new tensions. Trade Prince Morgul of the Corvani had not given up his opposition to human rule. Instead of open rebellion, he had switched to economic warfare, trying to manipulate trade routes and commodity prices to make human leadership look incompetent. "Sir," one of the new human trade analysts reported, "the Corvani are artificially restricting the flow of quantum crystals to the outer systems. They're trying to create shortages that will make people blame us for the problems." Alex studied the economic reports. Under the old Zelani system, such manipulation would have been dealt with through complex legal proceedings that could take years to resolve. But Alex was beginning to understand that human solutions didn't always follow traditional rules. "Can we find alternative suppliers for quantum crystals?" he asked. "The Corvani control most of the major mining operations," the analyst replied. "But there are some smaller species that mine lower-grade crystals. The Zelani never considered them worth dealing with," Alex smiled. "Set up meetings with every small-scale crystal miner in the Empire. If the Corvani want to play economic games, let's show them what happens when you give humans a challenge." Over the next few weeks, Alex's team worked with dozens of smaller species to improve their mining techniques and refine their crystal quality. Using human organizational skills and Zelani technology, they created a network of suppliers that could compete with the Corvani. Monopoly. The breakthrough came when Dr. Hayes discovered that the lower-grade crystals could be enhanced using a process that combined human chemical engineering with Zelani quantum manipulation. The result was crystals that were actually better than the Corvani's premium products. "This is impossible," Morgul raged during an emergency trade council meeting. "These primitive humans cannot simply ignore thousands of years of established commerce." Alex looked at the insect-like trade prince calmly. "Prince Morgul, you're right that we're ignoring thousands of years of established practice. That's exactly the point. Sometimes the old ways aren't the best ways." The council chamber erupted in discussion as representatives from across the Empire realized what this meant. The humans weren't just maintaining the old system. They were improving it. But the real test came when Morgul played his final card. Intelligence reports revealed that he had been secretly funding anti-human resistance movements on several worlds, trying to convince local populations that human rule would destroy their traditional ways of life. "Sir," Ryan reported during their morning briefing, "we have evidence that Morgul has been sending weapons and money to separatist groups on 4 different worlds. This goes beyond trade disputes. This is treason." Alex felt the weight of imperial law pressing down on him. The traditional response would be to arrest Morgul and put him on trial, but that could trigger exactly the kind of uprising he was trying to prevent. "What if we try something different?" Alex said, an idea forming in his mind. "What if instead of punishing Morgul, we give him exactly what he says he wants?" His crew looked confused, so Alex explained. "Morgul claims that humans are destroying traditional ways of life. So let's invite him to show us how things should be done. Make him responsible for maintaining Corvani traditions within the Empire." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "You want to reward him for treason by giving him more power?" "I want to give him responsibility," Alex corrected. "It's easy to criticize when you're on the outside. It's harder when you have to actually make things work." The strategy proved brilliant. When Morgul was put in charge of preserving traditional Corvani culture while still meeting the Empire's economic needs, he quickly discovered that change wasn't always the enemy. His own people began demanding the improvements that human innovation had brought to other parts of the Empire. Within a month, Morgul was quietly asking for human technical advisors to help modernize Corvani mining operations. The victory was sweet, but Alex knew it was just the beginning. As he stood in the command center, watching ships from dozens of worlds arrive at the massive energy signatures resolved into shapes that made Alex's blood run cold. Hundreds of ships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system, but these weren't like any vessels in the Imperial databases. They were perfectly geometric, made of dark metal that seemed to absorb light, and they moved with mechanical precision that no organic crew could match. "Sir," Ryan reported from his tactical station, his voice tight with tension, "I'm reading over 300 ships. Their technology is completely unknown, but energy output suggests they're more advanced than anything in our fleet." Alex gripped the arms of the crystal throne as information flowed into his mind from the Imperial Codex, ancient warnings, half-forgotten legends, and classified reports from the deepest archives painted a terrifying picture. "Lisa," he called out, "tell me. You have more information about these harbingers." Dr. Hayes was already pulling up her research files. According to the old records, they believed that organic life was chaotic and unpredictable. They saw it as a disease that needed to be cured. The Zilani fought them centuries ago, but everyone thought they had been destroyed. Katie looked up from her engineering console with fear in her eyes. "Captain, they're broadcasting something. It's not on any frequency we use for communication, but our systems are picking it up." The bridge speakers crackled to life with a voice that sounded like it came from a machine trying to imitate speech. "Organic entities of the failed Zilani construct. You have corrupted the natural order by introducing chaos variables into a stabilized system. This will be corrected." Alex stood up from the throne. "This is Emperor Alexander Morrison of the Zilani Dominion. Who are you and what do you want?" "We are the Harbinger Collective. We are order. We are perfection. We are the cure for organic chaos. Your species has accelerated the timeline for final purification. This is acceptable. Resistance will only delay the inevitable." The communication cut off, and immediately the alien fleet began moving toward the inner system with terrifying coordination. Every ship moved in perfect formation like parts of a single vast machine. "Admiral Keth," Alex called out over the fleet communication network, "how quickly can you get here with your ships?" The Vorthan Admiral's image appeared on the main screen, his blue-scaled face grim. "My fleet is in the Talar system, 4 hours away at best speed. But Emperor, even with my ships, we are badly outnumbered." Alex thought quickly, his mind racing through tactical options. The traditional response would be to gather all available ships and fight a conventional space battle. But the Harbingers clearly expected that approach. "Katie, can you patch me through to every ship captain in the Empire?" "Sir, that's over 2,000 individual commanders across 17 systems." "Do it, and Lisa, I need you to send your plague research to every medical facility in the Empire immediately." "Alex, what are you thinking?" Ryan asked. Alex looked at his crew, the people who had stood by him through everything. "I'm thinking that the Harbingers spent centuries studying the Zilani, learning their patterns, predicting their responses, but they don't know humans. And they sure don't know what happens when humans get angry." Over the next hour, as the Harbinger fleet methodically destroyed the outer system's defense platforms, Alex did something no Zilani Emperor had ever attempted. He spoke directly to every ship captain, every military commander, every local leader across the entire Empire. "The enemy that destroyed the Zilani civilization has returned," Alex said, his voice carrying across the galaxy. "They think organic life is a disease. They think we're too chaotic and unpredictable to deserve existence. They've been planning this extermination for centuries, studying our patterns, learning our weaknesses." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "But here's what they don't understand about humans, and about all of us who choose to stand together. We don't fight because we have to. We fight because we want to protect the people we care about. And when you threaten our families, our friends, our way of life, we don't become more predictable. We become more dangerous." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Ships began appearing in the Imperial system from every corner of the Empire. Not just military vessels, but cargo haulers converted to carry weapons, mining ships equipped with makeshift armor, even luxury yachts mounting whatever guns their crews could find. "Sir," Katie reported with amazement, "I'm reading over 1,500 ships converging on our position. This is the largest fleet in Imperial history. But the real surprise came from Earth. President Carter's voice came through on a priority channel from humanity's home system. Emperor Morrison, this is President Carter. Earth's orbital shipyards have been working around the clock since we received your message. We're sending you everything we have. On the tactical display, Alex watched as nearly 100 human-built ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They were crude compared to Zilani designs, but they were built with human determination and armed with hybrid technologies that combined the best of both civilizations. Madam President, Alex said, feeling a surge of pride in his species, you didn't have to risk Earth's entire fleet. Emperor Morrison, Carter replied with a slight smile, when family is in trouble, you help. And whether you like it or not, you're family. The first battle began when the Harbinger fleet reached the middle system. Their ships moved with perfect coordination, using tactics that suggested they had studied every major space battle in galactic history. But they had never fought humans before. Captain Jake Miller of the human destroyer Defiance demonstrated this when his ship used a maneuver that would have been impossible for any other species. Instead of engaging the enemy head-on, he flew his ship directly into an asteroid field and used the rocks as improvised weapons, hurling them at Harbinger vessels with precisely timed explosions. That's not in any tactical manual, Admiral Keth observed with what sounded like admiration. Humans don't always follow manuals, Alex replied, watching as more human captains improvised tactics that confused and disrupted the Harbinger formations, but the enemy adapted quickly. After the first few hours of battle, their ships began, countering human unpredictability with overwhelming firepower. The Imperial fleet was taking heavy losses. Sir, Ryan reported grimly, we've lost over 200 ships. The Harbingers are learning our patterns faster than we can create new ones. Alex felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. Thousands of people were dying because of decisions he had made, but he also felt something else. Determination. Lisa, tell me you found something useful in that plague research. Dr. Hayes looked up from her medical scanner, her eyes bright with discovery. Alex, I think I know why the Harbingers can't handle true randomness. Their machine intelligence processes information by finding patterns and predicting outcomes. But pure chaos doesn't have patterns. What are you saying? I'm saying that if we could introduce enough random variables into our tactics, their prediction systems might overload. Katie suddenly straightened up at her engineering station. I have an idea. What if we could create weapons that use quantum randomness generators? Every shot would be completely unpredictable, even to us. Alex felt hope returning. How quickly can you build them? The basic technology exists in Zilani quantum research. With human manufacturing techniques, maybe 6 hours. Do it. Send the specifications to every ship in the fleet. If the Harbingers want predictable warfare, let's give them something they've never seen before. As the modified weapons were distributed throughout the Imperial fleet, the tide of battle began to turn. Harbinger ships that had been effortlessly dodging conventional weapons found themselves unable to predict where the new quantum shots would go, but the real breakthrough came when Alex made a decision that horrified his military advisors. He ordered the entire fleet to abandon formation and attack individually, with each captain making their own tactical decisions without coordination. Sir, that's military suicide, Admiral Keth protested. Without coordination, we'll be fighting dozens of separate battles instead of one unified campaign. Exactly, Alex replied. The Harbingers can predict organized military responses, but they can't predict 1,500 different captains all making individual decisions based on human intuition. The strategy worked. The Harbinger fleet, designed to fight predictable enemies, began making errors as they tried to process too many random variables at once. Their perfect formations broke apart as they struggled to counter attacks that had no logical pattern. In the climactic moment of the battle, Alex realized that the Harbingers had one critical weakness. Their command ship was trying to control the entire fleet through direct communication, processing millions of tactical calculations every second. Katie, can you overload their command ship's processors? If I can get close enough to transmit a quantum virus directly into their systems, yes. But it would require someone to pilot a ship right into the heart of their formation. Alex stood up from the throne, already knowing what he had to do. Prep the Pathfinder. I'm going to finish what we started. Ryan stepped forward. Sir, that's a suicide mission. Alex looked at his crew, the friends who had stood by him through everything. Maybe, but if it works, we save the Empire. If it doesn't, at least we go down fighting. As Alex prepared for... Alex guided the Pathfinder through the chaos of the space battle, dodging energy beams and debris as he raced toward the massive Harbinger command ship. The vessel was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the largest Imperial dreadnought, and its dark metal surface was covered with weapon systems that tracked his approach. Captain, Katie's voice came through the communication system from the Imperial station. The quantum virus is ready for transmission, but you'll need to get within 50 meters of their hull for it to penetrate their shielding. 50 meters? Ryan's voice was tight with worry. Sir, at that range, their defensive systems will tear the ship apart. Alex checked his instruments. As energy bolts flashed past his cockpit windows. Then I better fly fast. The Pathfinder had been his home for years, and he knew every sound the ship made. Now, as he pushed the engines beyond their safety limits, he could hear the strain in the metal around him. But the ship held together, racing through the Harbinger formation like a meteor. Alex, Dr. Hayes called out over the radio, I'm reading massive energy buildups throughout their fleet. I think they're preparing some kind of super weapon. Alex looked at his tactical display and saw what she meant. Every Harbinger ship was redirecting power to their main guns, creating an energy signature unlike anything in the Imperial databases. If they fire that at the Imperial station, Alex muttered to himself, it's over. He made his decision in an instant, knowing it was probably his last. Instead of trying to sneak up on the command ship, Alex aimed the Pathfinder directly at its main command center and pushed the engines to maximum power. All ships, this is Emperor Morrison, he broadcast on all frequencies. Whatever happens. Next, remember that we fought together. Remember that we chose to stand up for what was right. And remember that the galaxy is better when different people work together instead of fighting each other. The Harbinger defensive systems opened fire. With everything they had, energy beams that could destroy battleships focused on the tiny human exploration vessel racing toward them. Alex felt the ship shaking apart around him as systems failed and hull plates melted away, but the Pathfinder had been built by humans who understood that sometimes you had to keep going, even when everything was falling apart. The ship held together. Just long enough Alex slammed the Pathfinder into the command ship's hull and activated the quantum virus transmission. For a brief moment, he felt the alien machine intelligence trying to understand what was happening to its systems. Then everything went white. Across the Harbinger fleet, the quantum virus spread through their communication networks like wildfire. The perfect coordination that had made them so dangerous suddenly became their weakness. As every ship's computer system tried to process random data that had no pattern or logic, ships began firing at random targets, including each other. Navigation systems failed, sending vessels spinning out of control. The entire fleet, which had moved like a single vast machine just minutes before, collapsed into chaos. It's working! Katie shouted from the Imperial station. The Harbinger fleet is breaking apart, but the victory came at a terrible price. The Pathfinder was gone, and with it, Alex Morrison. Ryan stared at the empty space where his captain had been just moments before. Sir, are you receiving? Alex, please respond. Only silence answered him. The battle was over, but the cost had been enormous. Hundreds of ships from across the Empire had been destroyed, and thousands of brave crew members had given their lives to stop the Harbinger threat. In the aftermath, something remarkable happened. Instead of falling apart without their human leader, the Empire grew stronger. Every species that had fought in the battle had seen what could be accomplished when different peoples worked together with a common purpose. Admiral Keth took command of the military situation with quiet efficiency. All ships, this is Admiral. Keth, begin search and rescue operations immediately. Every survivor matters, no matter what species they are. Katie Brooks found herself coordinating the massive engineering effort needed to repair damaged ships and restore space stations. The fusion of human and alien technologies that had begun under Alex's leadership accelerated, creating innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. Dr. Hayes continued her research into the Harbinger technology, but now she was working with scientists from dozens of different worlds. Together, they began to understand how the ancient enemy had operated and how to prevent such threats in the future. Back on Earth, President Carter received the news of Alex's sacrifice with tears in her eyes. But she also felt pride in what humanity had accomplished. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said during an emergency address to the world, Emperor Morrison gave his life to save not just humanity, but billions of people across the galaxy. His sacrifice reminds us that leadership isn't about power over others. It's about being willing to serve others even when it costs us everything. The funeral for Alex Morrison was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Representatives from every world in the Empire came to pay their respects. Humans stood beside Zelani Corvani next to Vorthan, all united in grief for a leader who had brought them together. Trade Prince Morgul, who had once opposed human rule, spoke at the ceremony. Emperor Morrison taught us that strength comes not from controlling others, but from inspiring them. He showed us that different doesn't mean wrong, and that sometimes the best solutions come from the most unexpected places. But the most important moment came when Ryan Cole, Katie Brooks, and Dr. Hayes stood before the assembled representatives and made an announcement that would reshape the galaxy. Alex Morrison didn't want to rule an empire, Ryan said, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. He wanted to build something better. So we're not going to replace him with another emperor. Katie stepped forward. Instead, we're creating something new. A confederation of worlds where every species has a voice, where decisions are made together, and where the principles Alex died for can live on. Dr. Hayes concluded, "We call it the Galactic Alliance. It will be built on the foundation Alex laid, but it will belong to all of us." The vote was unanimous. Every species, every world, every trade guild voted to join the new alliance. They had seen what could be accomplished when different peoples worked together, and they wanted to be part of building that future. Over the following months, the transformation was remarkable. Human cities appeared on alien worlds, while alien technologies revolutionized life on Earth. Trade routes that had been controlled by single species became cooperative ventures. Military forces that had once served individual worlds now protected the entire alliance. The changes weren't always easy. Some humans struggled to adapt to life on alien worlds, while some aliens found human customs confusing or overwhelming. But gradually, a new culture emerged that combined the best aspects of all member species. Katie Brooks, now the Alliance's Director of Technology, often found herself thinking about Alex as she worked on projects that would have seemed impossible just years before. Faster-than-light communication networks connected every world in the Alliance. Medical advances combined human creativity with alien science to cure diseases that had plagued species for generations. He would have loved to see this, she said to Ryan one day as they watched a mixed crew of humans and aliens launch the first exploration mission beyond the former Empire's borders. Ryan nodded, his hand resting on the memorial plaque they had installed on the bridge of their new flagship. He did see it. He saw what we could become if we just had the courage to try. The new Pathfinder launched into space, carrying a crew from 12 different species on a mission to explore unknown regions of the galaxy. Their goal was not conquest or exploitation, but discovery and peaceful contact with whatever civilizations they might find. As the ship disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Dr. Hayes smiled from her position as the Alliance's chief science officer. "I think Alex would approve. We're not just maintaining what he built, we're making it better." The legacy of Captain Alex Morrison lived on in every decision the Alliance made, every world they welcomed, and every challenge they faced together. He had shown the galaxy that leadership wasn't about being the strongest or the smartest. It was about being willing to bring out the best in others and to sacrifice for something greater than yourself. The human empire Alex had reluctantly inherited was gone, replaced by something that no single species could have created alone. The Galactic Alliance stood as proof that the universe was better when different peoples chose cooperation over conflict, understanding over fear, and hope over despair. And somewhere among the stars, new explorers carried forward the human spirit that had transformed a dying empire into a thriving community of worlds, proving that sometimes the greatest victories come not from conquest, but from bringing out the best in everyone around you.